Struggling during 3 stars at Town 17? Well, these are the 5 best attack strategies you can use post-update to 3-star any base. Kicking us off at number 5 is Thrower Smash. They are still particularly strong, especially at Town 17, where you don't have to worry about a Guardian, but they are falling behind other troops that got significantly stronger. So with this attack, we're going to use the Rocket Backpack and Giant Arrow combo to clear out as much as we can in the core of the base while setting up funneling. So that's why we're going for the CC and possibly an Inferno Tower. We're also able to get a Rage Spell Tower from there, but the Queen and the Duke will be on one side while we have the throwers moving in on the other. We can use a few Super Barbarians to control the pathing of our throwers, so that way we can force them to stay inside the base, while the other heroes are aimed at clearing out as many buildings as possible to, at the very least, get even more value. Otherwise, the throwers are going to continue to work inside the base. In this case, having the troop launcher is a bit more essential for those wall breakers, so you can really open the base further. So as you continue to work in, you can obviously have a lot of support from the Grand Warden and Totem spells to provide distraction, while having the Barbarian King with his giant gauntlet and stick horse in order to clear other sections of the base. Think of it as a tankier royal champion on the back end. Otherwise, this should 3-star more often than not, since throwers have a great amount of range. They're still very powerful here at Town 17, and when you pair it with the Jetpack Giant Arrow combo, it should get 3 stars more often than not. Just make sure that you're able to revive the Dragon Duke, and you should be perfectly fine to 3-star. Over at number 4 is the Super Bowler Smash. This attack strategy is a little bit different, as we're using the Heroic Torch, which is insanely powerful for Super Bowlers, especially underneath rage spells. Now for this attack, we want to set up funneling on 2 different sides, where one side is with the Royal Champion Charge. We're going to be using our invisibility spells here every 10 seconds, so we're able to alternate between the invisibility from the Spirit Fox and from the spell. Don't be afraid to use an invisibility over a building, so you're skipping it, so that way you're able to still take it down with the aura damage from the Electro Boots while still being able to charge through. This should speed up your charge quite a bit while you're using your invisibility spells. However, once the Spirit Fox goes down, you should start to time your invisibility spells every 4 seconds. That way you're able to keep the Royal Champion alive, and once a clear funnel is set, you can recall her back. Now this is where I would then set up the other side of your funnel immediately, as you're going to be using the Queen with her Magic Mirror and action figure alongside an Ice Golem. This is going to establish the other side of your funnel very, very well, so you're able to actually push into the base with your Super Bowlers, the Grand Warden, and the recalled Royal Champion. You have the Troop Launcher here since it can provide additional support, but you can also use the new Sky Wagon since you're using the Heroic Torch. Speaking of which, you do want to use an early rage spell as you power in, and then use your Eternal Tome and Heroic Torch. This is going to allow you to really blast through the core of the base with the Super Bowler's high damage, especially under rage. You can use an Overgrowth spell to also control the funneling of your Super Bowlers so everything goes in the right direction. Over on the back end, you've got the Dragon Duke with his Stun Blaster, which can very easily deal with back end defenses and overall will help your Super Bowlers as they work around the base. Once that Overgrowth expires though, you might have maybe a hero that loses her life, and you could always use a recall spell there instead of the Dragon Duke. Sometimes when you're using the Dragon Duke that late into the attack, he won't need the revive, but it'll be very nice to have for another hero like the Royal Champion. Otherwise, the Super Bowlers should easily move through the core of the base and should be able to clear through enough of it to get insane value. Obviously, like I said, you can replace the Troop Launcher with the Sky Wagon for even greater support, since you're able to bypass walls with the Heroic Torch. Moving over to number 3 is the Root Rider Smash. This has remained a top tier strategy and has only gotten better with the brand new siege machine, the Sky Wagon, which is offering insane value for it. So just like any Root Rider strategy, you want to start off with the Royal Champion Charge. You can use a few rocket balloons in order to control the pathing, but otherwise you're going to use your invisibility spells every 10 seconds. You want to make sure that you are keeping the Spirit Fox and the invisibility spell in order to alternate their invisibility and get plenty of value. If you do lose your Spirit Fox fairly early on, just start using your invisibility spells every 4 seconds in order to make sure that the Royal Champion gets some value. You obviously also have the ability to skip defenses, so you're able to get damage on buildings before you recall the Royal Champion back into your army. This is where then you can basically start setting up funneling for your main Root Rider push, where you've got the Archer Queen being used with an Ice Golem to easily deal with the CC and set up funneling with the Super Barbarians, while your Root Riders are easily working in with the new Skywagon. This is going to allow you to be a bit more offensive with the balloons from the new siege machine, in addition to having the Eternal Tome in the core of the base as you work around. You can use an Overgrowth to control pathing, while everything still continues to work around the base with the Root Riders and Valkyries along with the Royal Champion, and you could even use the Royal Champion ability in order to minimize a lot of that damage. You also have a Dragon Duke on the back end, similar to the Super Bowlers, where you want to use the Stun Blaster in order to minimize a lot of that damage. The Skywagon has a ton of different troops, which definitely includes Yetis, as this will allow you to have a lot more power while still scouting out traps for the healers with the balloons, the baby dragon, the minions, etc. So that way you're able to really keep everything alive as you continue to work around. You can even use a revive spell for the Dragon Duke to continue allowing him to do damage even if there are air troops near him, and you overall should be able to 3-star fairly consistently with Root Riders, especially with this new siege machine. Over at number 2 is the Dragon Riders. These guys are still very powerful and are just very consistent, especially with the new addition of the Skywagon. Now, this attack can still very easily take advantage of the Jetpack Giant Arrow combo, and you want to use that to clear as much of the base as you can, especially key defenses like the CC or the multi-gear cannon. Otherwise, you can use the Dragon Duke and the Queen together to get great value on one side, while then allowing your Dragon Riders to push through the rest of the base. You mainly want to use the Skywagon with this. If you notice, it's a trend. The Skywagon is incredibly strong with air troops, even Dragon Riders that focus on defenses. In this case, we are taking advantage of the Skywagon's additional CC troops to bring out other troops, such as maybe rocket balloons and even more Inferno Dragons into the mix. This is where then we can have the Eternal Tome and the Healing Tome to protect everything and keep everything healed. Having balloons, minions, and baby dragons from the new siege is really overwhelming for defenses, as you're able to have so many different troops. You can use the Dark Orb to slow down defenses and even activate Invis Towers from a distance, while then still utilizing the totem spells to minimize a lot of that damage. You also still have the Dragon Duke, where you can use a revive spell with him, but otherwise, as you continue to work around, you have so much power from the Dragon Duke, from the Grand Warden and the Minion Prince, and even the new siege. Everything is just providing so much support, and having that revive spell for the Dragon Duke is easily going to help you out in earning 3 stars. It's really how dominant this new siege is, enabling your Dragon Riders to do a lot more of the heavy lifting while still providing a lot of value with cleanup troops. And finally, at number 1 is Hydra. These guys are back, not only because of the Skywagon, but just how consistently dragons and Dragon Riders work together. So similar to many other strategies, you're going to use a Jetpack Giant Arrow combo in order to get as much value as you can while still setting up funneling. This is where you have that Jetpack and Giant Arrow with the 2 Earthquake spells to clear something like the core, while the Dragon Duke and the Archer Queen are able to clear given sections of the base. On the other side, we got rocket balloons and a baby dragon, and even an additional dragon in order to set up control and funneling for our Hydra. This is why we then have the dragons, Dragon Riders, the Minion Prince, the Grand Warden, and the new siege, the Skywagon. The Skywagon in this army is very powerful because pretty much you've got things behind your dragons and Dragon Riders, which really helps. You have Inferno Dragons if you want to take those, and otherwise you have a lot of power with this. You have the Eternal Tome and Healing Tome to protect everything as they continue to work around the base. You have an Overgrowth spell to minimize a lot of damage, let's say a Rage Spell Tower, for example, and you should overall have enough enough power to still move around. This strategy is incredibly strong for a reason, and you also have the Dark Orb of the Minion Prince in order to slow down a lot of the defenses. This makes it a lot easier for you to go through something like a Rage Spell Tower, and you obviously have Totem spells to really distract defenses and make it a lot harder for them to get value. Otherwise, just make sure again to revive the Dragon Duke if he does go down, and otherwise you should be able to comfortably 3-star many bases with the Hydra with how powerful it is alongside the new Siege Machine. Hopefully each of these attacks will help you in earning 3 stars and dominating Town Hall 17. And with the new Skywagon Siege Machine, the floodgate has opened to more possibilities for both air and ground strategies. If you do want a guide on Hydra, I recommend checking out this video right here, but YouTube says you might prefer this one instead.